This is Nithar Ramachandra from the NR Media NR Hour Sports Show, back with another episode. Happy Tuesday. Happy Taco Tuesday. I hope everyone's having a great day today. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and on the Speaker app, alongside with our co-host, Jeremy Fishman. Go check him out. He does some fantastic stuff. By the way, whoever doesn't know about Jeremy, he just got accepted into University of Tampa. So congrats on that. So he's about to do big things in Tampa. So happy for him. And before we introduce today's guest, I want to say, fans, please tune in on the Speaker app. You can ask the questions on my phone, as always, like you usually do for every guest. But without further ado, I have my good friend Wesley Gafford on the show today. He's a right-handed pitcher from Trent. He pitched for Trenton Thunder this year in the MLB Draft League. We'll get to his college career also, and obviously playing with Trenton Thunder and building relationships. He had a great season this year with Trenton Thunder, and we had the opportunity to cover him and his teammates in person at Trenton Thunder Ballpark. The MLB Draft League is really exciting. So fans, whoever doesn't know about that, you're going to learn about that today. So Wesley, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. Truly an honor. And like I said, I had the opportunity to cover you in person, and what a great season you had, and your team and teammates played hard this year. So welcome to the show, and nice to see you again. How are your family doing? How are you and your family?
Yeah, we're doing good. I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, it's a crazy world, the baseball world, especially now. And just kind of training here, training there, coming back home, trying to find time. I've lived in Central Time Zone for about 2 months, and then I lived in the Eastern Time Zone, and then Pacific Time Zone, and then back to Central Time Zone. So just kind of been bouncing around here and there, but doing good. Just looking forward to getting back out there at some point.
Hey, speaking of crazy in baseball right now, before we get to your playing career, tell our fans, what are your thoughts on this crazy baseball offseason right now with Ohtani getting 10 years, 700 from the Dodgers, Juan Soto going to the Yankees, and more moves to come? And what are your thoughts on this crazy contracts that's being handing out and the big trades that's happening?
Whenever I first heard the news break about Ohtani,
yeah,
I was like, I just didn't even understand how they could possibly afford that much money. And then as it turns out yesterday, find out that 680 million of it's going to get deferred.
Yep.
And it's just like, gosh, I don't know if that's good for baseball, if it's bad for baseball. I don't know. Because, you're going to start seeing, the Dodgers are going to be paying Ohtani till he's 99 years old, basically. It's just, it's crazy. But, it's also very smart, in my opinion. Ohtani, had Mike Trout as his teammate, and they didn't make the playoffs. And it's like, he clearly, is willing and deserving of getting paid that much money, but he also wants to win, I think, more than anything. So it's crazy. And then Juan Soto going to the Yankees, I feel like that's just probably his perfect place to play, honestly. I think he's going to hit so many bombs in that stadium, and that's just what the Yankees do. And I think that was a really good move.
Between him and Judge, it's going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like a home run derby every game with the two of them.
Yeah. I know, and it pretty much already is. And then if you can get Stanton to get healthy more, then it's just like, good Lord. Yeah. They're going to be hitting so many bombs. But yeah, so it's crazy. And I'm sure it's just going to get crazier. There's still plenty of teams that are out there on the market and it's just getting started. And I feel like the Ohtani thing might have maybe made some teams re-question what they are and aren't offering certain players, and probably restructure some deals. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen.
Jeremy?
Yeah, so how about you take us through your baseball journey? Tell us how you got into the sport and then your progression through the sport.
Yeah, okay. So I started playing baseball whenever I was 4. My dad played college football. My mom played college volleyball. My dad always said growing up that he probably should have played baseball because he was a lot better at it, which was perfect for me because I was pretty much terrible at every other sport besides baseball. So it really worked out pretty good that this is what I chose. But yeah, I started playing just local. It was called CPYL, Cedar Park Youth League, whenever I was 4 years old. Started playing, the travel ball, select ball thing nowadays is just crazy, out of this world. I mean, I don't even half understand it, to be completely honest with you. But I started like my first select playing whenever I was around, I don't know, 8 or 10. So I started playing select travel ball or whatever you want to call it. And that was pretty much, being in Texas. That meant that you'd go to Houston or Dallas every weekend to go play tournaments. I did that. The high school I went to, we were terrible at baseball. The school that I was zoned to go to, we were so bad. We won one game on varsity my freshman year.
Oh.
One. And it was a 6A high school in Texas. So it's a big school. So my sophomore year, we moved to Georgetown, Texas, which is just like kind of like a staple for Texas high school baseball. I did my time there. I made varsity, all that other good stuff. Started getting recruited, and I actually committed to TCU as a sophomore in high school. And then, so whenever all of that started happening, I went through some health problems, some injury problems. I didn't really play at all my senior year. Signed my letter of intent for TCU. And then right after I signed it, was told that I was pretty much just going to get redshirted, med red, for my freshman year, which that was a whole debacle in itself, because I was just starting to get healthy. I really wanted to play my freshman year of college, as every freshman going into play baseball does. And so I ended up transferring from TCU. I did like a couple of summer school classes, and that was pretty much it. So my time there was pretty short. And then this is where it gets really hectic. I went to a junior college in East Texas called Angelina Junior College. Love that place. It's the best. I had an amazing time there. Did my freshman year there, did really well. Started getting big name schools, kind of hop back on. I want to go to Texas. That's what I wanted to do. I'm a Longhorn. Like, Texas football is my thing. I love it. So that's what I wanted to do. And I was talking to them through this whole process, and they had offered me in high school, and I turned them down to go to TCU, yada, yada. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I couldn't tell you, but I just didn't do it. And so that was what I wanted to do. And they texted me, and we were in contact my first year at my junior college. And long story short, they kind of wanted me to go back for another year. So I did. Went back for another year. Same thing started kind of happening, where we were talking back and forth. It was looking like I was probably going to get a scholarship, an opportunity to go and play there. And then the day before, or maybe not day, week to day before my first scheduled start for the season for my second year, I shattered my middle finger right there on my throwing hand. And so I didn't play at all for the first half. And whenever I did make a comeback, my first scheduled start, COVID canceled the rest of the season. And so I didn't play at all my sophomore year. Was looking like I was, maybe going to get an opportunity to go and play still where I wanted to. And that summer, getting sent home, not really having anything to do. But acting like I need to still be throwing. I need to keep getting ready for the next year, because it's going to happen eventually. We don't know when we're going to go back to school, but eventually we're going to. And then through that whole process, the NCAA came out and said that all the seniors could come back for another year and they get to keep their scholarship. And so then it turned into all of these big Division I schools that I was talking to calling me up again and saying, hey, that money and that scholarship that we had for you, we're honoring all of our seniors. So we don't have any money for you now. And so then it became a thing of, okay, do I go back to my junior college for that year, And then also I have 3 years at junior college, and then I'll go and still have 2 more years of eligibility. So that's what we kind of decided to do. We're going to go back to a junior college, and 2 weeks before the school year was going to start, we hopped on a Zoom call with the whole team, and our head coach told us that all sports had been canceled for that next year because of COVID. And it was actually the first junior college in the country to do that.
Wow.
And so I had 2 weeks before the school year started, and I had nowhere to play. And I had already told, other schools that did still offer me money, no, because I was going to go back. And so I was just in a real bind. And then what ended up happening was my girlfriend at the time went to St. Edwards. She played basketball there. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to St. Ed's. I'm going to play. We'll see what happens. But at that point, after all that stuff had happened, I was kind of just thinking, I'm going to go play for my 3 years, and then I'm just going to be done. And, I'll be in Austin, and I'll be close to home. I'll get a job, yada, yada, we'll start things over and kind of give up the whole baseball thing. And went to St. Ed's, broke up with my girlfriend. And now I'm like, okay, well, now I'm at the school. I'm at the school, and it's like, well, crap. I played 1 year there, and then we broke up like midway through the year. And so I was just like, okay, now what? I mean, what am I going to do? So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to really dedicate myself to this. And I'm like, I got to give this a shot. I really do. And so I just kind of worked my butt off, worked with Tom House after my sophomore year, and just kind of got the velo up and got command up and fixed up a bunch of mechanical problems. And then going into my junior year, I had a really good year. I mean, I went to a Division II school, St. Ed's is, but I mean, I had a great year. I was our conference pitcher of the year and All-American, and had a really great year. And then going into my senior year, we had a bunch of scouts that were on me, showing up to games, showing up in the fall. And senior year wasn't as good as the junior year. A lot of things were better, statistically wise and mechanically wise, and just body frame projectability wise. I was a lot better, but I had about 4 games in a row with scouts in the stands that, not that I got shelled, but that I'd give up 7 hits, like 6 singles. I'd walk 2 or 3 guys, not getting as many strikeouts. And by that 4th week, man, there was like, if anybody in the stands to watch me play, I mean, practically nobody.
Wow.
It was like right in the middle of the season. And so that was, a little bit demoralizing, kind of just going through that whole process and, realizing that this is what I want to do. And it's like, this is going to happen, especially being a pitcher. Like this happens where it's a lull, and you just got to figure out a way how to get out of it. And eventually I did. End of the year really well, really strong. And then kind of became decision time. It's like, all right, so we're talking to a couple of teams, but it's not like, hey, we're really interested in you. It's like, hey, how you doing? Or just, the random text message at a random time. And it's just, like, hey, kind of in the back of your mind. So I decided like, hey, this is what we're going to do. I want to do this. So I went out to Driveline to get their motion capture assessment done and really just figure out, okay, why am I not consistently throwing like 96? I mean, that was pretty much it. And we got to fix up some mechanical issues, see what's going on. I went up there, dude, and I was only going to go up there for like 2 weeks, all the way in Seattle. And the draft was in Seattle at this time too. And I went up there and I absolutely fell in love with like how they do things, the whole science side behind it, biomechanical analysis, all this other stuff. Went up there, and then I started throwing in front of scouts. And it was like, oh, all these teams that I had been in contact with that now, through my agent and other people that are just helping me out, getting video of me throwing now. And it's like, oh, this looks a lot better. Went through that whole process, the draft. That was stressful. I was supposed to be a day 2 guy, getting drafted for under slot value on my day 8, 9, or around 8, 9, or 10. just didn't work out. I had a couple of teams call me during the draft, during the round, just didn't work out. And then so eventually Cardinals scout, he told me that he had submitted me as a person to go play in the draft league. I had absolutely no idea what that was. I had never heard of it. I had seen it on Instagram, before, but I didn't really know anything about the other side of it. And so I woke up one morning and I had a contract in my email and I had absolutely no idea like where it came from. And so eventually I called this Cardinals scout and he told me, he was like, yeah, if you want to keep playing, like this is what you got to do. And then you're just going to go get signed out of there. I was like, all right, screw it. I'm going to go play. Let's do it. So I signed the thing. And the whole time it's pretty funny because look, obviously I got the contract. I didn't sign it right away. I did a little bit of research throughout the day and I'm looking at different teams. I'm like, oh, well, I know this guy that's playing on this team. I know this guy. I played against this guy and I played against this guy at TCU and I knew this guy at junior college and I played against, he's in my conference. And so just seeing how many guys that were there and players that are actually like really, really, really good players that I was shocked that weren't signed. I actually, looking at all of that, I wanted to go. I want to go play in Trenton. Like that place is sick. Like I've played at that ballpark in like the show 12, 13, 14, 15, with my player basically just like rising up through the minors. And I've played there before and I always thought that it was so cool. Yeah. And so seeing that was a team, I'm like, oh man, I really, really, really want to go there. And so I was, hoping and praying for that. And then eventually I got an email and it said, hey, you've been assigned to the Trenton Thunder. And I'm like, all right, let's ride. Let's go do this thing. And so, yeah, I drove all the way up to New Jersey and that was an adventure in itself. But yeah, so that's my whole, in a nutshell, baseball story. There's lots of other ups and downs that were in that, but that's the broad story right there. So.
Wow, what a story there. And before we go any further, fans, please tune in on the Speed Grab. Ask your questions on that app on my phone, and we'll do the fan Q&A here too during the show. But Wes, yeah, like I said, great story there. And since you're Texas football, Cowboys or Texans?
Oh, Cowboys.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, I will never ever root for the Texans ever in my life. That's like rooting for A&M or Oklahoma for me for college. It's just you just don't do it.
Hey, talk that. How about the big win for us against Philly?
Oh my gosh, huge! and I hate the whole like even now people are finally admitting that hey Dak is in the MVP conversation.
Yep.
And then I saw a tweet this morning. And I woke up scrolling through Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and it was like headlines saying some article from some person saying, is this the worst year statistically for NFL MVPs and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. People are going to hate you. People hate the Cowboys just because of the Cowboys. It's the same thing when people hate the Yankees, bunch of winners. And yeah, so I can't stand the Eagles. And boy, I know that a lot of people in that area are probably Eagles fans, but I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't do it.
Just want to throw out there, go Giants.
Yeah. He's a
dog. Oh, jeez.
Tommy DeVito.
Hey, yeah, he's the man. Yeah. He is the man. And I saw the stuff come out about his agent and
Sean. Yep.
It's just the perfect fit. It really is. It's meant to be.
What a great story for New York, in the New York, New Jersey area. And actually, Sean, the agent, emailed me back like before the show, like 25 minutes ago, about doing something together. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Sean, he what an outfit yesterday with the hat and
he looked like a straight mobster. It was awesome.
Like I know he works for a huge agency, but there's no way DeVito is not his only client.
No, he has other clients.
Oh yeah, he's got a bunch. Yeah.
No, I know, but like him and DeVito just go together like bread and wine.
It should be his only client. That's what it should be. I mean, it is a perfect match. Those two, it's awesome.
Yeah. So can you tell our fans you're 6'6", 230, and you had Cade Lancour as a teammate in Trenton Thunder, who's also 6'6", 240. So there's some tall. You had some tall pitchers at Trenton this year, and tell our fans when you going through your baseball career, and obviously a lot of scouts for you watching you, a lot of teams, but were you concerned to yourself? Were you kind of concerned with the height? Because some pitchers when they're like tall, some pitchers don't work out. But were you concerned or not concerned in the same way?
Yeah. So my dad, since the minute that I started playing baseball competitively ish, so probably around like 13, when it really got, like, hey, we're trying to win. It's not just like, hey, let's learn how to throw the ball, buddy. It's like, hey, let's win. I mean, he built a pitcher's mound in our backyard, and I just remember doing tower drills and different types of drills in our living room every single night. And that's the one thing about being such a tall pitcher, is that there's a lot of moving parts, and it's very easy to get lost and for your timing to be really messed up, and it can really affect the outcome of every pitch, no matter what it is. But I will say that I don't think that's ever really been an issue for me, just mainly because mechanical wise, I've always had a really good base. And part of that's just from a very early age, just learning and watching and studying the game. I mean, my dad originally wanted me to throw like Tim Lincecum, which turns out to be just the most unattainable thing on the planet, because that guy's the freak for a reason. I mean, it's like, it was crazy. But that whole, just kind of like hip and shoulder separation, and just even from just starting out throwing like that, kind of built a pretty good base up of like, hey, this is me, and this is what works for me, and this is what doesn't work for me. Whenever I'm wrong, usually I can dial it back down to two things that I know without a doubt that if one of those two things are off, everything else is going to be off. So that whole, just being super tall and freakishly tall, I've been like that my whole life though. So, I'm just used to it. But yeah, Cade's an awesome guy. I mean, it's funny about this team. I mean, we have our group chat. We still talk every day to each other, every single day. Like, all of our guys, like, that was such a fun team to be a part of. That was such a great just introduction into pro ball. And I know any other team I'm going to play for may not exactly have that type of camaraderie and actual like, one goal in mind, team type mentality. We all like each other. But I will say that was such a great like introduction to that, and I will always be so thankful for my time with Trenton. I mean, that was really just so much fun. So yeah.
Hey, before we go any further, do you guys want to know how Juan Soto found out about the trade?
Yeah.
So he said on the press conference here just now, before, he said that he was playing Nintendo with his friends, and then AJ Preller, that's how he told them about the trade while he was playing Nintendo with his friends.
That's great.
That's crazy. That's why it's so crazy. It's just like, yep, you're not even gonna find out. You're just some headline breaks somewhere, and it's like, oh, looks like I'm going to New York. That's cool.
Can you tell us about a day in the life of one of your start days, from the moment you wake up to the moment you're pitching, and then to after the game?
Yeah, it actually starts the night before. Really. One big thing for me is that I'm really big in on like timing, and so that includes with what I'm eating. So usually on days that I'm gonna start, I will eat way later in the night for whatever reason. I just kind of became a thing that I do, and I'll probably have like a 3,000 calorie dinner, like just destroy food.
Wow.
And usually I'll just eat a bunch of macaroni and cheese, a steak, mashed potatoes, or interchange any of those things with a bunch of spaghetti. High carb, high protein. Go to bed at a decent time, eating all that much food pretty much just knocked me right out. So I'll go to bed around, 10 o'clock, latest 11 o'clock, kind of depends on the game time. So then I'll wake up. I'll try and sleep as much as I possibly can. If we're having a 7 o'clock start, I'll probably wake up around 11. First thing I do is I just chug water. Start chugging water. I pop in what's it called? Any type form of electrolyte type of drink. I'll eat a lot of salt too as well. That way just really, I can kind of maintain a little bit better, have a little bit more energy. I'll eat a bacon, Gouda, and egg cheese sandwich from Starbucks every single time. Every time that I know I'm going to pitch that day, I'll always eat that in the morning. And then if we were playing at home, like in Trenton, I'd say I'd probably show up to the park around for 7 o'clock game. I'd probably show up 3:30, somewhere around there. Get to the park. Usually the spread's already out there. I'll hammer some more food. Drink a protein shake probably about 3 hours before start time. Creatine, all that other type of stuff. Do all of that right in that midday. Usually about that 3 hour mark before it's time to go out there. Then we get into I'll go in the clubhouse and man, I'll sit there and I'll play chess or I'll play checkers. Different guys have different things that they like to do, especially pitchers. I mean, a lot of guys that I know pitching wise, they're all they've got to be here and they don't want to talk to anybody and they don't want to mess around with anybody. They don't, and I've tried that before, tried that in college, and I'm a natural overthinker already. So really the less that I think about baseball whenever I'm actually playing it, the better that I do. I mean, every time I was in college and I'd try and act all like Mr. Tough Guy and Mr. I'm this and I'm that, I just get out there and get shelled. And so it was just like, all right, I just got to be me. And so, I'll goof around with the guys in the clubhouse. I'll crack jokes, I'll mess around, yada, 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 before the game. And then I'd say, about 2 hours before, I'd go into the training room and I'd start to just get stretched out, rubbed out, deep tissue massage, really any of that type of stuff. Any areas that are bothering me, just get that all hammered out. And then I also that's whenever I start putting in some ibuprofen, some caffeine in the system as well. So I'll do all of that. I'll take some pre-workout like an hour before the game. Just get ready to go. And then I'd say like an hour and a half before I actually go in the weight room. And a lot of guys are starting, it's kind of becoming a little bit of a newer thing that I've noticed the guys are doing, but really instead of a super high intent, dynamic warm up, really just getting in there and throwing around a little bit of weight before I go out there. And then that really just kind of activates all my muscles and really just gets it into like, hey, it's time to go. Like this is high performance. Like we gotta wake up. Get out there like an hour before, do a little quick dynamic warm up. Just kind of take like 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of sit down by myself and just think for a little bit. And then 30 minutes before I start tossing, 10 minutes before the game, I throw usually about 22 pitches in the bullpen. And then I'm ready to go. So yeah, that's my whole day. I don't really eat a whole lot during that day either. I don't like to feel super bloated, especially since I had a bunch of food the night before. Kind of like to stay a little bit leaner on those days, but it's really just mainly protein and low carb. And yeah, so that's my pregame routine.
I think it's great. What I think about baseball is great. It's just how everyone can have such a different routine to get into the same mindset. It's just one of the cool things about the sport that we all love.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's the amount of guys that I know that have just done the most absurd things before the game. It's anything from like literally wearing a thong to clipping clipping their toenails into, or not their toenails, their fingernails into like, they only, like, I've known a guy in college, he would only clip one side of them. So he'd only clip one side of his fingernails, and he was a pitcher, and he said that it gave him more sink and run on the ball by only having half of his fingernails clipped, which just makes absolutely zero sense. But it's just, everybody has their weird things that they do, and it's just funny. Baseball is a funny game. It really is.
Definitely.
We do have a fan question here in my phone. One of our fans wants to know who are some of the pitchers that you looked up to growing up?
Oh, easy answer. Two. I've got two, three. Nolan Ryan,
Ooh,
because I'm from Texas.
yeah.
He also lives in our neighborhood. Like,
Really?
yeah, he lives in Georgetown.
So,
Um,
oh wow, that's awesome.
yeah, so I'm from George. Like, I say Austin just because it's like, yeah, I'm from Georgetown. Okay, well, where the heck's that? Um, Nolan Ryan, Tim Lincecum,
Mhm.
and then thirdly, and probably most importantly, Madison Bumgarner.
Ooh,
I was the biggest, honestly, kind of still am, just mad bum guy. I mean, my dad is a Giants fan,
yeah.
huge San Francisco Giants fan. Half our family's from the Bay. Um, and so we were always like, I was always a Rangers fan growing up as a kid. He let me do that.
Mhm.
And then whenever the Giants and the Rangers played in that World Series, I showed up and all my Rangers stuff was missing.
Uh-oh.
All, it was all just missing. He had taken it all and thrown it all away and bought
Oh,
me a bunch of Giants stuff. And he was like, "You're going to be a Giants fan from now on." And I go, "Okay." I was 11. I'm not even 11. I was 10. I was 10 years old. So I'm like, "Yep, you're right. I guess I'm going to be a Giants fan now." So I grew up being a Giants fan. So massive Bumgarner. I mean, what's better than a pitcher who hits nukes?
yeah.
Nothing. And so that was just my guy. I loved him so much. He was an absolute dog. Um, Type of guy that just really doesn't put up with anybody's crap. And I love that about him. I really did. Even though he was a lefty and I'm a righty, it was still just him. Him and Nolan Ryan are the two biggest pitchers that I looked up to. I mean, Nolan Ryan, obviously, the strikeout king, like the Ryan Express. He's from this area. He has roots in this area. He lives here. It's just like everybody around here knows Nolan Ryan. Everybody should know Nolan Ryan in general, but especially around here, I mean, that's the guy. So yeah, those two guys, just bulldogs on the mound, I'd say.
Speaking of uh speaking of Nolan Ryan, have you like reached out to him for advice or have you connected with him yet?
So he's pretty active in this area. Not so much anymore, but whenever he was a little bit younger, like whenever I was around 15 years old, um, he would always, he'd kind of be around in the area, high school games. The select organization that I grew up playing in, it's called GPS, kind of runs this whole Austin area. His grandson played for GPS, and he was in the like the age group younger than me.
Yeah.
And so if we were ever playing the same tournaments, like Nolan Ryan would just be sitting in a lawn chair behind the fence, just at some random complex somewhere. And so yeah, I mean, I think I've talked to him like a handful of times. I've seen him at camps. Whenever I worked out with Tom House, a lot of inspiration for all that. And like Tom House's big name guy was always Nolan Ryan, and Randy Johnson. And so kind of just looking at some of the things that he did really well and then trying to like take that into my game, but also making sure that, I do what is, I know that works for me, but also still trying to kind of, copy what that guy did. But yeah, I mean, he's literally probably, if he's home, like 15 minutes away.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So tell our fans, So I had the opportunity to interview your pitching coach, Matt Sweeney, this year at Trent. I before the game, I interviewed him, and what he obviously he's come from major league experience and well known. What kind of impact has he had? I mean, did he have for you guys this year during the season, and including for you, Cade, Steven, Brendan, Jonah, Lorenzo, David, Tommy, and I can go on and on. So
Yeah.
can you describe to our fans what has he meant to you guys in your careers?
So Sweeney, being the first pro ball pitching coach that I had, he was awesome. Not just as like a pitching guy, like he, and that's the thing with pitching too. And pitching coaches, everybody kind of has like their thing. Like this is what they really, really, really believe in. And I've seen, different types of pitching philosophies through anybody that I've met in this area and different schools, different opposing teams. But I think the thing that he helped me out with the most, I'd say like pitch grips, and then the mental side. Like he straight up, I think we probably had as a staff, me and him kind of started the conversation going, but it probably was like a 24-hour mental conversation over pitching. And the beauty of that, like, and I can't even like really go, it would take 3 hours to go into detail over the specifics of that. But the funny thing about it was that it kind of started, are you reactive or proactive whenever you're on the mound? And the funny thing that came from this conversation is that almost every single guy going through that conversation on that staff, all those names that you just mentioned, every single person was involved in that conversation, and everybody had the different answer.
Yeah.
That, just stemming from those two, are you reactive or proactive on the mound or as a pitcher? And then going down a road of those two things and kind of figure out what does that even mean over a long period of time. Like, I mean, it was during one of the games and we were winning, I don't remember where we were playing, but it turned into this thing that we would talk about all the time. And so it honestly kind of changed my whole like mental aspect of how I approach the game whenever I'm on the mound. So I would say that Sweeney, like mentally, pretty much completely changed the way that I view pitching whenever I'm on the mound. And he's also just an awesome human. Like that guy is just such a great guy. And so, yeah, I love Sweeney so much. I mean, he's a great guy. And I know that like he's got some things going on in New Jersey right now with some of the pitchers that while we were up there, that they kind of have this whole thing going on where some of the guys that are from that area are actually going to be training with him this offseason. So yeah, he's awesome. And he was a fantastic coach and just really good experience with working with him.
So we've talked a lot about some current major league guys. So I'm going to stay on that topic a bit. If you could face any current MLB hitter and also face any former MLB hitter, who would those two guys be?
Oh, geez. Like, as in who would I would want to face as me being a pitcher? The worst one, you name it. I don't anybody that I can strike out. Man, I don't know. That's a good question. Former, I can answer the former one first. Let's see. I'd like to face Barry Bonds just to see how far he would hit it off of me. That would be curious to find out. Let's see, current player that I would want to face. I'm gonna have to say, oh, man, I don't know. Let's see, who do I pitch best to? Probably lefties. Freddie Freeman.
Ooh.
I like to, yeah, sure. There we go. I'll just say that. Not because I think I'm going to get him out or anything. I just feel like he'd be a really cool guy to face. He is such an amazing player too. I mean, that whole Dodgers team this year is just going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Those top 4 or 5 hitters in the lineup. How do you get any of them out?
I feel like you're gonna have to either pitch around them, which pitching around 4 guys, I mean, that's probably not going to end up too well, or you just got to go after them and just force contact against those guys and have themselves get themselves out. I'd say those 2 ways are probably the only ways you're going to get it done. I feel like you can't kind of nitpick and pick who you do and don't want to throw to, and then what counts and this and that. I feel like with that lineup, you're just going to have to go after them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what the Diamondbacks did whenever they played them in the postseason this year. Is they were just like, we don't care who you are, we're just going to go after you, and it worked out well for them. I mean, obviously, but yeah, it's still just going to be like the fact that like Ohtani's going to be hitting cleanup for those guys is just ridiculous. Not fair. It really isn't.
And yet they'll probably still only win 1 or 2, if that, during his
Yeah,
contract.
that's what. So my whole family being Giants fans, the minute that news broke, I was getting text from my brother, my dad, like, I can't effing believe this. Like, are you kidding me? Ohtani signed with the Dodgers. Gosh, yada, 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 yada. And then they're going to win 120 games next year, and they're going to get bounced in the first round. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to get over that hump. Really, I honestly feel like they're going to be honest with you, just because Ohtani is that big of a game changer for teams. Especially whenever, the pieces around him are already competitive enough. Adding that guy in there, I mean, he could hit 220 and hit 30 bombs, 40 bombs, and it's just like that's going to put them so far over the edge.
Yep.
And he's probably going to hit, 315 with 30 bombs, but still.
Their rotation is still a giant question mark, but now with all the deferred money, they have a lot more to spend, and I could definitely see them get out like a Blake Snell or a Yamamoto, which
Oh my gosh, which apparently they're still the favorites to land him as well, which is crazy. And I couldn't imagine if they got Blake Snell. I mean, you're just going to add a Cy Young winner. It's just that contract is going to change everything. It really is. I'm curious to see what the MLB is going to have to say about that, if they say anything at all. Because I mean, I don't say that's going to be like a sustainable thing. You start having these big name guys start signing $700 million, and they're only going to get paid $2 million every year. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do about that.
I don't know how much it's going to happen, though, because no one's going to be as endorsed as Ohtani is, especially because he has a whole country's market behind him. But then, you have Soto as a free agent next season. You have some other guys coming up, and who knows what we'll start to see.
Yeah, it's going to be – I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that. Obviously, I don't think on the scale level as that, but the whole deferring money – I feel like it's probably going to start happening, especially now, because it's like, oh, teams are going to realize we can really get away with that. Like, we can do that. That's going to be awesome. So it's going to happen a lot more until it gets to a point where the MLB is going to have to do something about it, I feel like.
Yeah, it's like Soto. So if Scott Boras he's going to be asking for that $700 million. Soto's not going to get it, but I know Scott Boras for a fact that he's going to ask for that asking price for 700.
Yep.
But he's not going to get that for Juan Soto. But
probably not. But he's going to get 500.
Yeah.
At that point, we go above 100 million part. It's like, all right, whatever. It's let's just play. Like, that was always my thing too. It's at least talking to guys that have signed big contracts or guys that haven't, and everybody likes to say, oh, well, I want to win more than anything. And then you see $700 million offered to you. I don't care who it is, but you're taking it. Like, I mean, it's so hard not to, even if you go to a team that's just not going to be very competitive. And it's probably not going to be as competitive now if you're signing for $700 million. Not saying that's the Dodgers case at all, because it's not, but it's hard not to say yes to that. I mean, that is just like, 3 generations down the line, they're not going to have a job. So it's, I get it. I get why guys do it and they go for as much money as they possibly can. Obviously, everybody still wants to win, but I mean, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. We do have another fan question here on my phone. Someone wants to know some of your best moments so far in your career.
Oh boy. Let's see. I would say I think I have two that are probably my personal favorite. Um, my first varsity start in high school, I threw a no-hitter. And so that is probably my favorite baseball memory. Because that was just like wild. I had moved to a new school, didn't know any of these guys really. I was a sophomore who was pretty good. Everybody kind of knew I was going to commit to someplace really well. And then going out there and just throwing a no hitter was kind of like oh, okay. All right. So he is actually those things that people were kind of saying. And I'd say that, and then just getting named an All-American. I'd say that those two things were probably my favorite moments for me personally as a player personally, but my favorite moments as like a team in baseball, by far my favorite moment was going to the state championship in high school. I'd say that was my favorite moment. We got absolutely killed, but still, it's just my high school was so glad that I moved to Georgetown. I mean, our coach, Adam Foster, he is the assistant coach at Angelo State, who just won the Division II World Series last year. He is a coach there now, but that man had us so prepared for college baseball and for off seasons and for training and for all of this stuff that whenever I did get to college baseball, I was almost disappointed because I was like, really, this is it? Like, this isn't that bad, whether it's running, conditioning, punishment, whatever. He had us just so prepared for all of that. And so really high school baseball for me, and I'm literally wearing like one of our shirts like right now. This whole city just kind of really comes around this program here. And we hold the record for the top 5 most attended high school baseball games ever. And so it's a big deal around here. And so that's by far my favorite moment personally, just getting to experience all of that. And the emotions that come with all of that was just so much fun. So yeah, that's like my top 3 right there.
So here's a question for you. Does Tommy Bonicasio remind you of Tommy DeVito?
Oh my gosh. Yes. He looks just like him now that you say that. That is so funny. Oh, I didn't. That is so funny. Yeah, they literally look exactly alike. They look exact. I don't know if DeVito is quite as a absolute psychopath whenever he's on the field because Benicasso, I mean, he was the type of guy where even us in the dugout, we were like, if he gives up a hit this inning, just like we got to go this way because that dude's going to come in on a rampage. He talk about a bulldog on the mound.
I don't know if you have your phone on you, but do you have your phone on you?
Yeah, I do.
Pull up his picture real quick.
Yeah, I'll pull him up.
Jeremy, you're gonna laugh at this. Hold on.
I know who you're talking about too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God. You can't tell me this is not DeVito. Oh man. And speaking of, I mean, this guy, he won a national championship in college.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so funny. All
Crazy.
guys, that was such a fun time. It really was.
2 of the biggest stories in New York sports this year revolved around chicken parm and chicken cutlets.
Oh yeah.
Volpe and DeVito.
Yeah. It's funny, man.
So speaking of, I guess, food, are you a sunflower seed or a bubblegum guy?
Oh, It depends. It depends on what type of gum is in the dugout. If it's the big league chew, I'm gonna put the gum in before I put sunflower seeds in. If it's double bubble, I'm gonna put the gum in before I put sunflower seeds in. But if there's dill pickle seeds, I'm taking those before anything. So I guess I'm gonna have to say sunflower seeds.
Wow.
Most of my teammates hate dill pickle, so thank you for saying that.
I don't see how people can hate it.
It's so good.
The big dill pickle seeds might be my favorite thing that I can put into my mouth. I mean, it's just so I've had them. I remember eating when they first came out with them. I would eat a whole bag. It'd be like 13U, and I'm in the dugout and I'm like not playing, and I would just eat the whole bag, and my tongue would be completely destroyed the next day from the salt and all the other sodium and all the other stuff.
Wow.
Just I would destroy my tongue with dill pickle seeds because I just like the flavor.
I'm more of a David's Big Pickle guy. But
I hate David's dill pickle.
really,
Yeah. Baseball.
I like both. And I think it's harder to find David's, but they're both. I mean, dill pickle's the best flavor, hands down. That and cracked pepper.
See,
You're a cracked pepper guy.
yeah, it's like when it comes to Aaron Judge, I don't know how much gum he wastes a game, but every time he gets out of the bat, he spits his gum, and puts a new one in.
Or Pete Carroll. That guy's got to go through
Pete Carroll. Oh my
10
God.
packets of gum every single game. I mean, geez, he's just constant.
I respect him as a coach. I can't. He's in great shape. He practices with his players. He's competitive. He throws footballs around too. Man, this guy is like this is a coach I want on the team. Like Pete Carroll.
Yeah. I didn't really. First memory of Pete Carroll is the national championship game 2005 whenever Texas beat USC. So that's the only thing I ever think of whenever I think of Pete Carroll is just, oh, yep, we beat him. So, but yeah, he is obviously an amazing coach. I mean, to be around the NFL for that long, to be around football coaching that long, and still, especially he's been in Seattle for so long now, it feels like. But yeah, he's awesome. He's a character too. He's funny.
So tell our fans, and it's really, especially in baseball, to have chemistry between a pitcher and a catcher. And you guys were lucky to have three great catchers, in my opinion, at Trenton Thunder. And I interviewed, I think one of them, Angel Mendoza, I interviewed, and Greg Corliss and Roberto Lopez. But what was it like having Roberto, Craig, and Angel, especially Roberto in the bullpen game, and then catching your bullpen sessions with the other pitchers? So what was that like having those three dynamic catchers in one team?
Man, the thing with catchers is they, just like pitchers, all have their own style and their own way of kind of how they do things. And I've always been very, very, very picky with who I like to catch. In high school, he was really our first baseman, but he was also a catcher. I was like, he has to catch me every game, just because there was that connection between a pitcher and a catcher is a real thing. And just really getting on the same mindset with each other is really important. And so in Trenton, me and Angel, like that, we had a thing. I don't know if I've ever not shaken off a catcher more in my entire life. If I was shaking Angel off, it's because he went and told me to shake off. And I was like, yep, all right, let's do it. Yeah, me and him, we had an amazing on the field chemistry whenever I was on the bump and in the clubhouse too. I mean, really everybody. Yeah, me and him were always on the same wavelength. So, and then just, having like the other two catchers there as well. Like Berto, whenever he was catching bullpens, that's a guy that's been playing affiliated ball for a while. And just kind of having him in the bullpen, catching before the game, pregame, just kind of getting like, some pretty good visual advice on, hey, this is what your ball's doing with this pitch, this pitch, this pitch, this pitch. And sometimes even just completely eliminating a pitch for the game, just knowing, hey, this ain't working for me today. Like, if we throw it, it's going to have to be an account and in a spot where I know that thing's not going to run over the middle of the plate or it's not going to, stay elevated. Just getting that, feedback from different type of guys is always awesome. But yeah, I mean, our catchers were great. Angel had an absolute cannon behind home plate. Really, anytime there's somebody on first base, if he was going to steal, I knew that was going to be his own funeral, because that dude threw out everybody. So yeah, it was great. Angel's an amazing catcher. So yeah.
Unfortunately, I do have to run. Got some other stuff I got to take care of. So, Wes, appreciate you coming on. Wish you best luck going forward with your surgery coming up and for your recovery. And I hope to see you right back on that mound pretty soon.
Awesome. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple more things for me then before we let you go, and tell our fans. So what was it? So this season. Actually, hold on. Before we get to that, we do have another fan question. Someone wants to know who is the funniest teammate that you played with?
Angel.
Angel.
Oh boy, Angel was hilarious. Berto was hilarious. Joe and Paduglia, that dude. Oh my gosh, I love that man.
I love that. He's awesome, man. He's my.
He is the best. He is so funny. Oh my gosh. And like I said, Chris Merriweather was also hilarious. Like, I mean, we literally still talk every day. All those guys. We have a big group message and we talk with each other every single day. But yeah, the funniest, man, Joe, Angel, Berto, Chris, probably the funniest guys on the team.
Wow. Yeah. So two more things. We had the opportunity of covering the Savannah Bananas game against you guys, and
Oh boy.
speaking of Joe, before the game they did like a weightlifting thing. And the Joe took his shirt off, and the other guy took his shirt off. Tell our
Yep.
fans, what was that? What was that like?
I have that video on my phone of him coming out. We're all lined up there on the sides, and of him coming out. And to be honest with you, some backstory on that game, boy, that is a whole different world. I mean, we didn't even really realize that we were playing them for a while. Because we always figured that they're just gonna play the party animals, that other team that they play. And then we're like, oh my gosh, we're actually playing these guys, and then we have to go out and we have to do different routines and different this and different that. And the one thing I'll say is that that's definitely not for everybody. It was something really cool to be a part of. If they get to see it, obviously that place was bumping and it was packed to the limit. It was really cool to see. And the Thunder fan base is amazing already, especially for a minor league team. It's a real fan base. But that game was just really cool to see. That whole place really filled out. But yeah, Joe going out there ripping his jersey off, and first of all, he is not
he's a massive
small person. He has so much muscle that it's like hard for him to throw a baseball. That's how big he is. Like, that dude's back and shoulders are insane, which is why he can hit a ball 530 feet if he really wanted to. But yeah, that was hilarious. Oh my gosh, that game was just so much fun. But yeah, so him getting selected to do that, they were going over before the game and go over the different routines and stuff that we're going to have to do. They said, we're going to have a weigh-in. They called that the weigh-in. And they were like, so you guys are going to have to pick somebody. Within 30 seconds, everybody knew already, hey, like, Joe's going to have to do that because he is the biggest dude on the field. So yeah, that was so funny. And he did not want to do it. He did not want to do that at all, and I don't blame him. Ripping his shirt off in front of all those people and going up there and doing that, but it was really funny. That was a fun time.
Yeah. So one final thing here, and obviously when you go through your Tommy John surgery, and And then we're all wishing you well, wish speedy recovery, and we hope to see you back on the mound, and you'll come back stronger the following year, whenever you come back. But talk about when you go through that, and obviously going through adversity throughout your career, and when you eventually go back on the mound, and what's that feeling gonna be like once knowing that you went through adversity and knowing that you went through Tommy John, and showing people what you can do after the surgery, because we've seen recent success after the surgery that people can get back to where they used to be. So talk about that, and what's that going to be like, and has teams still reached out to you even though you're going to have the surgery?
Yeah, so whenever it happened, I was actually throwing in front of like 15 different teams when I was at Driveline in Seattle. And so and that's the thing nowadays. I mean, if this was 15, 20 years ago, I'd probably be done. Just because seeing somebody have TJ, especially a pitcher, to different teams, it's kind of like an automatic no. But even after it happened, I had some contact with different teams, and their biggest thing was, and all the trainers at Driveline and all of my coaches that I've had before, my family, my friends, everybody's kind of saying, "Oh, well, what are you gonna do now? Like, you're not quitting, are you? Like, you're not done. This isn't it for you, right?" And the answer is no. Like, I just can't. I can't let an injury. At least, this injury, there's a chance that I could, maybe not be able to throw at 100% like I used to, but I'll never know unless I go about it in this way that I'm about to go about it. Of every single day I'm doing my physical therapy. Every single day I'm doing this. How am I going to get better today? What can I do to get better today? I have to do something. What can it be to get better, to be mentally ready for whenever I get back on the bump? And knowing guys that have had TJ before, they've always said, "Man, my arm feels fine, but I'm scared to throw it max effort. Like, the brain is telling me that I cannot do it. Like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." It's not that they don't want to, it's just a subconscious thing that, is kind of holding them back. And I think that that's going to be something that I'm going to have to really, really work on. And I feel like I can work on that and start to get ready for that now, whenever that time eventually does come. I mean, you said it, like, I've been through a lot of adversity already, just as my career. It's been super up and down, but you know what? That's why I love baseball so much, is that's life. I mean, life is just like baseball. You're going to see more failure than you are success. Whenever you do succeed, it takes all of that failure that you have had and it just throws it all out the window. Mm-hmm. But it's also really important that you learn from these things and learn from these mistakes. And so I think what's going to be really key for me is, whenever I start doing my physical therapy, number one, to be more mentally strong with that and trusting that I can do this, and trusting in myself that my body can take it, like my mind, just kind of defeating my mind, really. And I feel like that can go with a lot of other things too in life as well. But just starting and remembering what I have been through, what's led me up to this point. I've seen so much success. I've seen a lot of really good things in my career, and just trusting that I can do it, and to just really just push myself. I think those are going to be the key things whenever eventually I do get on that mound, that I know that I'm ready, and then I know that I can do it, and I've got to trust myself. And if it doesn't work out, then I can live with that, because I did everything that I could. And so, yeah, I think that those are going to be some really important aspects for whenever I do get back on the mound.
Yeah, well, there you have it, fans. Wesley Gafford, Trenton Thunder pitcher, joining the show today, and I had the opportunity of covering him and the rest of his teammates at Trenton Thunder this season. What a great team to cover! And whoever doesn't know about the MLB Draft League, start knowing now, and please attend a few games if you can at Trenton Thunder. But Wesley, thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you.
And telling our fans about your story, and shout out to the fans for asking good questions, and Jeremy for joining too. But Wesley, like I said, best of luck with the surgery. wishing a speedy recovery and looking forward to seeing you back on the mound. And we'll stay connected, but keep up the great work, man. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on.
Hey, no problem. Okay, let's see that. Yeah, let's see.